There are 117 wildfires burning in the forest protection area of Alberta. 23 of those are out of control, 45 are being held, and 53 are under control. The wildfire danger continues to be extreme in the southern parts of the province. But because of rain, wildfire danger has been reduced across the north, and more shower activity is expected today. The number of active wildfires has significantly decreased over the last week. Last week, we had recorded 170 active wildfires, and we're now down to 117. The temperatures are expected to rise in most of the province over the coming days, but not to the extent that we saw a few weeks ago. Firefighters have made good progress on current wildfires and have been steadily containing and extinguishing them. Support from other agencies has helped with wildfire suppression. It does take time and effort to get wildfires of this size under control. One of the biggest factors is boots on the ground, and that's why we're grateful for the additional support coming into Alberta over the past week. Specialists and incident management teams are relieving our own staff and giving them a chance to refresh. Imported firefighters are busy extinguishing hotspots and mopping up areas that are still burning inside a wildfire perimeter. We welcomed 100 firefighters from Mexico and 200 from South Africa over the past few days, and more are expected to be coming in the next. We know the long weekend is fast approaching, and Albertans are eager to get out and enjoy the outdoors. But I want to remind Albertans that fire season is not over yet, and respecting fire bans is integral to our wildfire response. We want to keep firefighters focused on actioning existing wildfires and not responding to new ones. We have changed some of the fire bans in those areas that have seen wildfire danger go down. But in the north and the far south of the province, the bans are still in place. On average, 67% of wildfires are human-caused, and that means they're completely preventable. We all have a role to play in wildfire prevention. If you're having a campfire in a permitted area, please do so responsibly. Never leave your campfire unattended, and ensure it's completely extinguished before you leave. AlbertaFirebans.ca is a one-stop shop for all information about fire bans across the province. These things can change quickly, so please make sure you know before you go this weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Christie. Joe, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The Alberta Emergency Management Agency is pleased to share that there have been no new emergency alerts recently. The Provincial Emergency Coordination Centre remains at an operational level 4 to coordinate the provincial government's response to ongoing wildfires. We will continue providing support to Jasper, the Municipal District of Bighorn, Little Red River Cree Nation, the Municipal District of Opportunity, Chippewa Prairie First Nation, and the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo as required. The situation across the province continues to evolve, and we are seeing significant progress both on the front lines and the support we are witnessing from our fellow Albertans. The estimated number of evacuees remains at 17,105. Reception centers are open in Calgary, Grand Prairie, and Edmonton for the Jasper evacuees, in Wabasca, Fort Chipewyan Lake evacuees, and in Edmonton for Little Red River Cree Nation evacuees. We ask those under an evacuation order to pre-register online at emergencyregistration.alberta.ca, and that's emergency registration, all one word, .alberta.ca, and then visit a designated reception center to access services. Registering at a designated reception center allows for quick access to information on supports and services, including updates and re-entry plans. The Municipality of Jasper and Parks Canada continue to complete the damage assessments in the town site. The initial damage assessment of structures in town indicated that all critical infrastructure was protected. Alberta Emergency Management Agency field officers and emergency social services officers are embedded with the local incident management team in Hinton and continue to provide seamless connection points between emergency responders and the Government of Alberta. For information on re-entry criteria in Jasper, please visit www.jasper.alberta.ca. Aside from Jasper, evacuation orders are also still in place for other areas of the province. An evacuation order remains in effect for the municipal district of Bighorn for the North Ranchlands area. And there's an evacuation alert for the area west of Water Valley, Dock Mills Road, Whispering Pine Road, and Burnt Timber Road. There were no permanent residents in the evacuation area, meaning the impact was primarily to campers. Evacuation orders are also in effect for all three communities of the Little Red River Cree Nation and the community of Chippewa Lake. All of the communities currently under evacuation are now eligible for emergency evacuation payments, and the Ministry of Senior, Community and Social Services is working hard to process those payments. Starting tomorrow, July 31st, the Canadian Red Cross will begin distributing a one-time payment of $750 per household to for those evacuated from their primary residence in Jasper. For information, please visit www.redcross.ca. The weather this week has continued to be hot and dry for many parts of Alberta, as we heard, and it's important that we all do our part to minimize the risk of new fires starting. Albertans should continue to follow all fire bans and restrictions. And while we've had some rain and cooler temperatures the last few days, the fire risk is still high. And this is also a good time to think about preparedness and what each individual needs to do to prepare for a possible evacuation. We have a lot of useful information at alberta.ca/be prepared to help people, including fact sheets, videos, checklists, infographics, and more. The Government of Canada and the Government of Alberta are matching donations to the Red Cross's 2024 Alberta Wildfires Appeal. Donation matching will last for 30 days as of July 25th, and Albertans wishing to make a financial donation can do so online at www.redcross.ca. We are doing our best to make sure Albertans have the information they need, and at the same time, we encourage everyone to stay connected with their local authorities' website and social media channels to stay up to date for information. Thank you very much, and Sheena, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Joe. We'll now get to some media questions. A reminder, one question, one follow-up, and please state your name and media outlet before you ask your question. Let's start with Jonathan. Jonathan, go ahead.
Hi, Jonathan Bradley, Western Standard. My question's for Christie Tucker. So you spoke about wildfire conditions improving and weather, the fire situation improving in most of Alberta except for the northern part and the far southern part. What's driving these what's driving the wildfire situation in the northern part and in the far south and causing it to stay similar to what it is now?
Well, we have seen cooler temperatures across most of the province, but there are areas that just haven't had the relief with the cooler temperatures and the rain that we've seen elsewhere. So those areas where we're still estimating that the wildfire danger is high to very high to extreme, it can be in the case of the south of the province, areas where they have just had longer hot days, and they have temperatures have been significantly higher in the southern half of the province than they have been in the northern half over the last few days. So we have seen that relief in the north. And of course, in the north, in that area, we have seen long-term drought conditions. And certainly that area was affected, particularly earlier in the spring when we saw the results of those drought conditions. So it can dry out quickly under those conditions when you have a bit of wind, when you have slightly warmer temperatures. So we are just keeping an eye on those areas in the far north and then areas in the south. But we are trying to be responsive to the conditions. We don't want to leave bans on unnecessarily because we know people do appreciate being outdoors at this time of year. We just want people to be able to do it safely. So we want to make sure that the bans are appropriate when they're in place. So I suggest that everyone really just bookmark albertafirebans.ca and go back and check that site to ensure that you're getting the latest information before you go out.
Okay, my follow-up pertains to the firefighters who arrived. So you said that 200 have arrived from South Africa and 100 from New Zealand. So how will it be decided where these firefighters will be sent to manage the wildfires?
We manage all of our firefighting resources here in the Alberta Wildfire Coordination Center, and those decisions really are made based on the wildfires that are of highest priority. We prioritize those fires that are in the vicinity of communities, where we can see sort of if there is any kind of immediate threat. Now, without with the current situation, there doesn't appear to be any communities under immediate threat, so we're able to allocate those resources to some of our larger campaign fires. A lot of the resources that do come in from overseas are able to assist us with type 3 firefighting, and that's a slightly different way of firefighting than what some of our type 1 crews do. It's very, very important work on the ground, and that's the work that we do to extinguish a fire and bring it under control. It's not so much initial attack where we have firefighters, small groups, teams of firefighters arriving in helicopters, assessing and immediately acting on a situation. That's sustained action where they're able to go through, find hotspots, turn them over, and that is the hard work on the ground that actually goes to containing a fire completely. So we're very grateful to have that sustained action support here in the province, because we do have some larger scale fires that have been burning for quite a while that we are very grateful to have the help in pushing them over towards containment.
Thanks, Christie. Dennis, go ahead.
Dennis Cofton, CBC Fort Mac. Question both to Christie and to Joe. Little Red River Cree Nation announced yesterday that they're planning to re-enter their communities, plan to end their evacuations. And Chief Conrad Stewart Peggingham said that the re-entry would be happening soon, end quote. Can you provide a bit of an update on what the CMO fire that caused those evacuations looks like at this time, and what in the fire conditions and the kind of in the current fire behavior and it will enable the communities that were evacuated to return?
Well, I'll just go first and provide a little information on the fire, and Joe can speak to re-entry. And I know that the CMO complex is a large-scale wildfire in the high-level area, but it has not shown significant activity or growth recently. It has been one of the fires that have benefit from slightly lower temperatures, slightly lower fire behavior. We haven't seen any significant movement in the direction of any of the communities since last week, which is a good sign. And I know firefighters have been working. We've had night vision helicopters that we've been able to use along the area that was showing activity on the southern perimeter. So another one of those examples where we have been able to get in the air, use night vision helicopters and work fires at night. We have been working overnight operations with crews and heavy equipment as well, and that has helped us make some progress on the containment of the fire. So certainly I know communities, when they are looking to re-enter, as Joe can touch on, we are trying to provide the community leaders with as much accurate wildfire information as we possibly can so they can safely make those decisions for their communities.
Thank you, Christie. And when we're talking about Little Red River Cree Nation, we're tracking about 6,158 evacuees. So, from a Alberta Emergency Management Agency perspective, we're supporting them and their needs. And we're under the impression that they're targeting re-entry for around August 8th, but we'll wait for the community as well to get their messaging out and support. And as Christie mentioned, it's there's still a fire, but we're expecting that it to be safe for residents for when they can return, and so we're working closely with them to make sure that occurs.
As a follow-up, that's mostly for Christie again. Those communities were evacuated largely because the wildfire threatened to approach too closely to Highway 58 and cut off the access to those communities. Can you describe what firefighters are doing right now to push that fire away from the highway? Because if the latest wildfire update for the high-level forest areas to be believed, the CMO fire is about 2 kilometers away from that highway. Kind of what is being done to make sure that the fire doesn't approach any closer and will retreat as the time goes on?
Thank you. My latest information says it's 2.4 kilometers from the highway, and certainly that has not changed since last week. So crews that are in the area have successfully managed to control any spread of the wildfire towards the highway. And they are now at the moment just reinforcing fire guards that they have been working on. It can be lengthy work. What they're doing there in creating fire guards is widening areas to slow down any spread of a fire, to remove anything that could be used as fuel for the fire. And that is work that's done through the night with heavy equipment as well as during the day with the crews and heavy equipment as well. So those containment runs, I think, have been the focus largely, and ensuring that we can keep the fire where it is. And I'm happy to say it has not moved significantly, particularly in that area of the highway.
Thanks, Christie. Sean, go ahead.
Hi, Sean Amato with City News. Christie, I just wanted to ask, seems like most of the big fires that are keeping people out of their homes right now are sort of in a holding pattern. They're not really growing. They're not necessarily shrinking. Just wondering for your take on what it's going to take to turn that tide here.
Yeah, I know that bringing a large-scale wildfire to a place where we can declare that it's under control, that it's being held. There is a lot of work that goes on the ground there, and certainly a lot of help from the environmental conditions for the firefighters, and that's what we've seen largely over the past week. We have had a bit of rain relief. We have had cooler conditions, and that has helped firefighters a lot, but that is not going to instantly turn an out-of-control wildfire into extinguish. So there is a lot of work, as I was talking about what they've been doing on the FEMO complex, building those fire guards, getting out there every day, sometimes through the night, and ensuring those containment lines are tight, widening the containment lines, reinforcing them in various ways, and just ensuring that we can really contain it with natural barriers that are there. So the teams out there are working strategically with the environment, trying to make as much progress as they possibly can while conditions are lower and we're seeing lower activity. So happy that we haven't seen a significant amount of spread on some of those larger fires, even though we haven't had a huge amount of rain. Certainly some more rain would be a significant help to firefighters, but what they are able to do with these lower conditions is to get in front of the fires and get into areas where they can then work on those containment lines, and that's the work that's really going to help us in the long term when it comes to bringing those wildfires under control.
So the last time I talked to you, you were right, unfortunately, about Tuesday and Wednesday being very challenging days for wildfire. We saw that in Jasper. Just wondering, you alluded to it, but a little bit more, if you could, please, on what the forecast is telling you for the next few days and into the weekend.
Yeah, looking a few days ahead, I know that some of our forecasters are just cautious for the southern part of the province over the next few days. It has remained dry. They haven't received quite the precipitation that we've seen in the north. So we are certainly watching those conditions, and we're preparing for what could be sort of possible increase in activity on some of the fires there. But you know, looking longer term, we are expecting more moisture into the province. We are expecting things to return sort of seasonally. But we are getting to the part of the fire season where we too tend to see warmer temperatures and drying out in the south. So just being aware of that cycle here in Alberta and being as prepared as we can. We are certainly supporting Parks Canada in their response in Jasper, as well as our own areas in the south of the province, and just ensuring that we're able to make use of the quieter times in order to prepare and do the work on those fires that are already burning while the activity is low, before we might see a pickup in activity. But as I said, we're not expecting the hot temperatures that we've seen, and certainly the wind was a major story on what happened last week, particularly in the Jasper area. So we're not anticipating winds like we've seen there. We are anticipating warmer temperatures, but certainly not like the conditions that we've seen. So we are preparing, but we are not anticipating a repeat of what we saw last week.
Thanks, Christie. Natasha, go ahead. Natasha, go ahead. You might still be on mute.
Hi, sorry there. No, I don't know what happened. Natasha from the CBC. Joe, what will it take to reopen Highway 16 to passenger and commercial traffic? And would one come before the other? Like
Yeah,
commercial before passenger?
thanks for that. And I mean, wildfire continues to burn along Highway 16, and Parks Canada continues to work with Alberta Wildfire and Canada Task Force 2 to bring that wildfire under control. Park Canada controls the entrances and exits to the park on Highway 16, and they will declare when it's safe to enter the park again and when those conditions improve. So I know that work is currently underway, and everyone is eagerly standing by to hear when we can get some traffic on that highway.
Yes, what is your role then in that decision? Sounds as though it's always Parks Canada posting these updates and everybody's still wondering, what's happening with that and escorted tours into the town. How much of a say do you have with those plans?
Yeah, I think when it comes to tours themselves, and the Alberta Emergency Management Agency is supporting the municipality in their needs. And so when it comes to logistics or the technical skills that our agency has, we play that supporting role or from a resource as well as what the needs are. We're working together with Parks Canada and of course our partners around the government of Alberta. So the process and planning process around bus tours for evacuated residents is in process. That's balanced by still ensuring that it's safe to do so, and so that's where we're at right now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Aaron, go ahead.
Hi, you folks can hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. So I guess my first question is for Christie. Any update as to when Jasper residents will be allowed to sort of go home, or at least have a guided tour to see the damage that's been done to the town?
We're not involved in re-entry, and Parks Canada is the lead on the wildfire response, but I'm not sure if Joe may have something to add about that question.
Yeah, thank you, Christie. There's no definitive timelines as of this time. We continue to work with the local authorities to bring more clarity around that. Re-entry will only be possible once the wildfire situation in the park becomes more safe. And so the local incident command team, they're actively working on a re-entry plan with all agencies. And the team has to ensure that all the community lifelines are up and running. So everything from roads and bridges, that the air is safe to breathe, that there's water, electricity, food supplies, pharmaceuticals, and all the essential services. So we're working closely with the local authority to develop those reentry plans and supporting that this can be done as quickly as possible, but also safely.
Okay, and for my follow-up, I'm wondering about backcountry campers, if you folks can speak to this. Were rescuers able to get everyone out? Are there still campers in areas that are maybe not at risk who may have to leave eventually?
We haven't heard of anyone at risk at this time. And we have heard that everyone that was to be evacuated were, but would have to take that back to our teams to answer that question fully.
Okay, thank you.
Connor, go ahead.
Hey, a bit of a, a lighter question for Christie probably, and you did already touch on this a bit, but we've all seen those fun videos of the South African firefighting teams arriving. Wondering if you have any more information about exactly what fires they'll be assigned to, or will that be changing? Will any of them be lent to the folks, the Parks Canada folks, to help fight the fires in Jasper?
Yeah, the South Africans are always a delight to host here in Alberta, and we have had them appreciated their assistance several times over the last few years since I've been here, and certainly they are a great assistance to us in that sustained action firefighting. So in that work that needs to be done in order to bring a wildfire under control. So we are happy to welcome 200. So that's a significant number of firefighters now here in Alberta with additional resources to help. We will be sending them where we feel they're needed. Certainly Jasper is obviously supporting Jasper is one of our top priorities here in the province, and Parks Canada knows that we're here to help and that we are always happy to offer what we can. So it's the firefighting resources, I can't say specifically where they will be at this time, but they are going to be throughout the province, and they are going to be working on some of those larger campaign style wildfires and doing the work that we need to extinguish them.
Thanks. No follow-up for me.
All right, thank you. That looks like all the questions we have today, so we'll wrap it up. Just a reminder that a daily media update will be sent out after 3:30 p.m. today. Thanks, everyone.